Hey everyone, welcome to day 3 for Math 133. Today is September 4th, and we're going to be talking about the Chapter 2 review. Before we do that, we're going to jump up here, and the weekly discussion boards have been posted. So if you are in the Zoom class, then you're good. You don't need to do any of these. So if you come to one Zoom class each week, at least, or if you come to both, then you don't need to fill these out. Okay, you get your participation points just for coming to the Zoom. Um, Now, however, if you cannot come on Tuesday, and you also cannot come on a Thursday, you can't come to either of the Zoom classes that week, then you'll need to go and fill out that discussion board. So for those of you watching this on the video, if you missed Tuesday and today, you'll need to go to the week 2, and there'll be some questions there. You'll fill those out. And then you also need to reply to 2 other people that also posted to the discussion board. And if you do that, you'll get your participation points for the week. Okay. Um, Now, for those of you who attend, who are here, who are in the Zoom, and you don't need to do the discussion board, it'll show up maybe as missing, or it'll show up as a late assignment. But as I said, you don't need to do it. I usually will put in the attendance. Uh, I try to do it every week, but if I fall behind, that's okay. So it's not missing. If you attend one of the Zoom sessions that week, then you're good. There's no discussion board for week 1. Week 1 last week was just on Tuesday. We talked about the class, so uh, nobody needs to fill that out. Um, and there's also no discussion board for the week of the midterm or the week of finals. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, you still have to do the midterm and final, but you don't have to come to the Zoom. So, okay. So, hopefully that all makes sense. If you have questions, feel free to reach out to me on Remind or shoot me an email. But yeah, so today, though, we're covering the Chapter 2 review. And along with that, we're also going to be doing the Chapter 2 review worksheet, which is a project. Okay, so we have a worksheet and a project, and we'll do those together here in class. Um, for the review worksheet, I'll give some like hints on some of the ones that I think are difficult, and then I'll stop the recording and we will go back and finish filling it out. Okay. So for those of you in Zoom, we will have the entire worksheet done today. Okay. As well as the project. So. There's also 3.1 lecture notes and 3.2 lecture notes to work on. So for those, you'll fill those out in the course pack. If you haven't gotten your course pack yet, you're going to want to get that really soon, because we're already in week 2, and today the chapter 2 review worksheet is in the course pack. It's on page 304, and so you're going to want to fill out the answers with me as I go. Okay. Um, but anyway, for the lecture notes, 3.1 and 3.2, they are due next week on Tuesday, but Cindy will be using 3.1 for 3.1 and 3.2 for Monday's class, okay, for her Monday class. So try to get it done before Monday, okay? Um, okay, cool. The recording for the morning session is already been posted, so it's the same material. So if you want to watch, this recording or the morning one, or both, I mean, if you want to hear the same material twice, that's fine. Okay, cool. So, as I said, Chapter 2 review worksheet is on page 304. Okay, so go get that out of your course pack. It's 4 pages, page 304, 5, 6, and 307. Okay. Now that said, if you, so here it is. This is page 304. Okay, so we'll start by putting our name on here. I mean, you don't have to, but it really helps me when I'm grading. Sometimes I have to download these, and so it really helps if you put your name on there. I can figure it out if you don't, but um, so for the first question here, we're going to fill in this table, and this is actually our project for the day. Okay, so jumping back over to Canvas, if you click on the Chapter 2 review worksheet, there are some links there that will take you to the project. Okay, so right here, data sets for worksheets. If you click on this link, it will take you to this Google document that has a list of all the links for all the data sets throughout the entire class. So if it actually loads for me, come on. Okay, so it looks like this. It looks a bit crazy, but these are the worksheets we're going to be working on throughout the class, both for my class and Cindy's. And the one that we want is the Chapter 2 review, number of pet dogs. And if you click on this Google Sheet link right here, it'll open up this website. Okay, and this Google Sheet, which is where we're going to do our project for the day. Okay. Now that said, you also could have gone and clicked on the worksheet project itself. So let me show you that right here. So Chapter 2 review Google Sheet project. If you click on this, it's going to have um, information about how to do it. There's actually a video that you can watch if you need some extra help, because we're going to be doing these quite a few times. So, but there's also the same link that'll take you to the Google Sheet there. Okay. Um, okay, cool. So now that we have that open, so number one, the following table shows the number of pet dogs in thousands for all the countries of Europe that participated in reporting data. Okay, so um, this is going to be a project. Okay, so we'll come back to this, and we'll work on filling these out together. Okay, um, but down here, when we talk about the shape of the distribution, you'll find information about that on page 45 and 46. Okay, in your course pack. Okay. When we talk about qualitative, quantitative, that stuff, you'll find that on page 5. Okay. Um, okay, so all right, so I'm going to skip through most of this, and I'll give you some more hints on the next page. Page 2 is page 305, okay, for this project or for this worksheet. Okay. The graph shows all the users for social networks worldwide as of February 2025. What type of graph is shown above? So that's a question for you guys. What is this graph? Hopefully nobody picks pie chart, right? It's not a pie chart. What kind of graph is this?
Frequency Pareto.
Uh, so you got the frequency part right. So um, this is a bar chart. So difference between frequency and relative frequency. Frequency is counting. So one, two, three, it's going to be whole numbers. Relative frequency is going to be percents. Okay. So you'd have like 0.12, okay, or something like that. Okay. Uh, Next is explain why it's not appropriate to talk about the shape of this distribution. So you can find information about shape on page 45 and 46 in your course pack. But you can't always talk about shape. So this one, for example, uh, like it looks like it's skewed to the left, right? Skewed right. We have the tail going off to the right here. Um, but why is it that we can't say, oh, well, this is skewed right? Okay, why is it that shape doesn't make any sense to discuss here?
Users may have more than one platform.
Well, it could. Yep. So you might be double counting things, but that's not going to change that this is going to be so the main thing is what do we see on the x-axis here? What are these words mean?
They're apt, so a qualitative value.
Yeah, that's right. So since these are qualitative, they're not in any kind of order, okay? They might be in alphabetical order, or in this case, they're in order by most popular. So if you put the most popular first, well, it's always going to look like this. It's always going to be in this shape, right? So on the other hand, if your x-axis is quantitative, so like year or number of games played, in that case, it is okay to talk about shape because you can put those numbers in order, okay? Here, my X categories, so the X-axis, so the X-axis categories are qualitative, okay? They're not numerical.
So, Joe, I do feel like in part A, when
Yeah.
Kara said that it was a Pareto chart,
Oh,
um,
did I have
it
that wrong?
is going down in descending order.
Oh, that's fair. Nope, you're right. Thank you. Thanks for catching me on that. Okay, cool. So, part C, what is N? Capital N is the total. So to do that one, you need to add all the bars up. Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. We'll come back and we will finish filling in the entire worksheet today. But I want to give you some hints on the ones that I think might be a little more difficult to finish. Okay, so maybe I can do better on this one. What type of graph is shown above? So uh, that's for you guys. What is this shape? What
Is
is
it a
this?
time
What
series
is this
one?
graph? Yeah, this is a time series, and I can tell because my x-axis is time, right? It's years or days or weeks. In this case, it's years. Okay. And again, we talked about qualitative and quantitative. You'll find that information on page 5. Okay. Um, okay. Uh, let's jump to the last page, page 307. And what about this one? What type of graph is this?
A frequency histogram.
Frequency histogram, right? And it's frequency because these bars are measuring whole numbers as opposed to decimals, right? Like if I had percents or if I had decimals, it would be a relative frequency. So this graph shows the number of games played by all NBA players in the regular season, okay? So this is a histogram. And part of the reason you know that is because there's no space in between the bars, right? So this is saying that anyone who played 0 to 5 games is going to fall in this bar. So there's 29 people who played 0 to 5 games. Now, this is not actually 0 to 5, it's 0 to 4.9 or 4.999, right? So here's 5 right here. If I played exactly 5 games, would I be in this bar or this bar? Well, the second bar is from 5 up to 9.9. Okay, so if I played exactly 5, I'd be in this second bar right here. Okay, so all the way out here, this one is going from 80 to 84.9 or 84.99. Okay, but it doesn't go all the way up to 85. Okay. Um, okay, so shape, find information about that on page 45 and 46. Find information about this on page 5. Um, okay, so the tallest bar, this one, has a value of 58 on the top. What does that mean in terms of, in context of the situation? So be specific and include discussion of games played.
58
So
NBA
go ahead.
players had
Mhm.
played between 70 and 74.9 regular season games.
Mhm. 58 NBN players. Yep, you're right. Played between 70 and 74.9 games. Okay. All right. Um, okay, that sounds good. What is N? N is the total. So again, you'll just add them all together. Okay. 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 I think that's all the hints I'm going to give for today. But let's jump back to first page, page 304. And let's look at our project here. So the following table shows the number of pet dogs in thousands. So in thousands means that these are thousands of dogs. So 0 to 1999 this is actually 1,998,000 dogs. So because this is measuring countries, right? It goes up to the last one is 19,000. Um, but that's countries in Europe, right? There are countries that have way more than 19,000 dogs, right? So there's two countries that had, this is actually 10 million and 19 million. Okay. Anyway, this is 2,000,000, however confusing that is. It's 2 million. Okay, so we want to fill in the midpoints, the relative frequency, cumulative, and so on. Okay. So if I go back to the Google Sheet that I got to, so I had clicked on this one and it brought me to this Google Sheet here. We're going to fill in those values here. Okay. And we'll submit it as our project. And then we'll just copy them onto paper. Okay. But in the Google project, I want to see not just the number, but I also want to see the formula. I want to make sure you understand how to calculate these because we're going to do these quite a few times. Okay, so definitely want to make sure that we understand the formula and how we are computing these. Okay. Um, okay, so with that all said, the first thing we're going to do is the midpoints. So the class midpoints. Each of these is a class. So the class here, you can think of it as a bucket or a bin. Uh, in this case, we're calling it a class. Okay, those all mean the same thing. It's a group of countries that have dogs in between these two numbers. Okay, and there are 29 countries in Europe that have somewhere between 0 dogs, maybe that's Vatican, up to 1.9 million. Okay. So the class midpoint is the number directly in between this low limit and this high limit. Okay. So you might be able to just look at this and know, oh, it's this number. Okay. But again, I want you to show the formula. Okay. So the formula for this, we're going to start with calculating the foundational midpoint. Okay. This foundational just meaning the first. Okay, we need the first midpoint. So we're going to type equals parenthesis, and then we'll do the lower limit plus the next lower limit. So the next class up, you take its lower limit, and we're going to average those together. So you add them, and then you close your parenthesis and divide by 2. Okay. So that's what we're going to type in Google Sheets. And if you don't want to do it in Google Sheets, that's fine. You can download this into Excel. You would go to File and then download it as an Excel, and you can do the same things, same formulas in Excel. But that's okay. I very much prefer Excel, but Google Sheets, I mean, for the projects, it's fine. I was working on something for my wife the other night, and I was doing it in Google Sheets. I was like, oh, this is way worse than Excel. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna type equals in cell B2, okay? But that's not gonna work because I can't edit this. This is the project for everyone. And if I start typing here, you guys are all going to see, if we all start typing there, we're not going to be able to do that, okay? So before I can do anything, I have to make a copy. So you'll go to File, make a copy, just like we did with last time when we did a project, and we have to save our own version of this, okay? I'm gonna put my name in here. Again, you don't have to, but it really helps if you do put your name in here. If you try to save it here, you're not going to be able to because you're saving it into the folder where the teachers keep everything. So you're going to want to change your folder to My Drive. So all locations My Drive, okay? Or if there's a folder that you would prefer to put it in, you can put it there, okay? So I've changed the name, changed the folder, make a copy. So now this is my own personal copy, and I will be able to edit this, okay? So in B2, now I can start typing things, okay? All right, so in cell B2, I'm going to do equals, I'll open my parenthesis, and then the lower limit for this class is 0 plus the next lower limit. So what's the next lower limit?
2000.
2000, right? So we go to the next class down, and that's 2000, and I'll close my parenthesis, and then I divide by 2. Your divide key is next to the shift on your keyboard. It's where the question mark is, but instead of holding shift down and hitting question mark, you'll just tap that button. It's a /2, and we'll divide those, and we get 1,000, okay? So the number directly between 0 and 2000 is 1000, okay? Which we probably already knew, but like I said, I want to see the formula. So this isn't just the number 1000. If I go back to cell B2, you can see up here the formula bar is telling me how that was computed, okay? So if you just give me the number, you're not going to get full points. Okay, so now that I have this midpoint, I need the other midpoints. Now, I don't want to have to do the same thing over and over, okay? I mean, there's only there's 5 more to go, but if there were like 15 classes, I don't want to have to type that over and over. So instead, I can use the class width, and that's going to make it a lot faster, okay? So the class width is how many numbers are there between 0 and 1999, okay? So to do the class width, you do equals, you take the next lower limit, okay, which in this case was 2000, right? Next lower limit minus this lower limit, the current one, the one that you're on, okay? And you just subtract those two, okay? So I'll do equals 2000 minus 0, which, okay, fine. I could have done that in my head. It's 2000 is the width, okay? Um, okay, great. And by the way, you could have done that with any of these. You could have said, okay, 8,000 minus 6,000, those two lower limits, that's still going to be 2, okay? 2,000. So why do I need that? Okay, that didn't fill in anything in. Well, what I can do is I can use this class width and just take my foundational midpoint and add that width over and over and over. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my midpoints. The rest of my midpoints, you take the previous midpoint. I can't spell previous midpoint. And you're not going to put the number this time. You need the cell, okay? The cell reference, okay? And you're going to add the width, okay? And I'll show you how to do that, okay? So you take the previous midpoint plus the width. So in cell B3, I'm going to type equals, And I need the previous midpoint. The previous midpoint was 1,000, but I'm not going to type 1,000. I need the cell reference. So I'm going to click on the 1,000, and you'll see that it doesn't show up as 1,000. It shows up as cell B2. Okay, that's the cell reference. So equals B2 plus the width. And in this case, the width was 2,000. We hit enter. And so there is our next midpoint. So the number directly between 2,000 and 3,999 is 3,000. Okay. Now I still don't want to have to type that out for all of these, but I don't have to because now that I have this, I can copy this formula for all the other blank cells. Okay. Because all I'm going to do is add 2,000, add 2,000, add 2,000. And I can do that because I've used the cell reference. So if I click on cell B3 where the 3,000 is, you'll notice there's a little dot that shows up in the lower right-hand corner of your cell. And if you hover over it, your mouse turns into a plus. Okay, so that's what I want. I'm going to hover over that dot, and I'm going to hold my left mouse button down. I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag it down. Okay, and that's going to copy the formula down for all the other classes, and here are all of my midpoints. Okay, if you didn't want to do that, that's fine. You could have just copied it and pasted. So I can right click and copy and then select the cells where I want to paste it. And I can just paste or hit Control V. And when you paste it, it doesn't paste the number 3,000, it pastes the formula. Okay. So there it is. There's my midpoints. Okay. And I don't need to use those for any of the questions here in chapter 2, but I am going to need those midpoints and know how to compute them when we start talking about means and standard deviations. If I was trying to calculate the mean and standard deviation here, I would need those midpoints before I can do anything. Okay. Okay, cool. So that's it. That's my midpoints. Let's move on to relative frequencies. And by the way, stop me if I'm going too fast. If you have questions or you need to see, wait, how did you do that? Let me know because, some of you may have grown up with Excel and you're like, okay, yeah, I know how to do these formulas. And some of you may not. And so this might be the first time you're putting formulas in. So let me know if you have questions or anything because I want you to be able to do this on your own. Okay. Um, all right, so for relative frequency, what we'll do is we'll take our frequencies and we'll divide by the total, okay? The total number of countries, okay? Well, what is the total? I don't have that, right? So I need to compute that. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to calculate my total. Um, so I'm going to do equals, and I need to add these up. So Google Sheets is actually pretty smart sometimes. And it's like, hey, do you want to sum these? Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. So I can just do tab and it'll use that formula. Okay. Or if you don't trust it, you can do, or if you're in Excel, you can do equals, sum, open my parenthesis, and then I'll click and drag. Here's the ones that I want to add up. And then I'll hit enter. And so I have 41. So there's 41 countries in Europe with some dogs. So that's the number I want to divide by. So in my relative frequency, I'm going to take each of my frequencies and divide by the total. Okay. So relative frequency is the frequency. Okay. And when you choose the frequency, you want to choose the cell. Okay. You're not going to type the number. You want the actual cell reference. And then you divide by the total. Okay. So what does that look like? So in cell D2, so make sure you clicked on that. You're going to type equals. And then we need, so Google Sheets is going to make a guess. It says, hey, do you want to multiply these together? No, that is not what I'm going to do. Good try, Google, but nope, not this time. So I'm going to click on the 29. So that's the frequency, but I don't want to type 29. I want to actually click on cell C2, and then I'm going to divide by 41. Okay, so I'm going to type the 41. Now you don't have to. I'll show you a way you can do it using cell references, but first we'll do equals C2 divided by 41. And then Google Sheets says, hey, do you want to copy all these down? You're close, Google. I don't want this one down here, so I'm going to reject your suggestion. I want just these ones filled in. So if I copy this formula down, there's all my relative frequencies. Now these look terrible. No one wants to see that, the relative frequency is 70.73170. Yeah, that's too many digits. Okay. So I'm gonna highlight column D, okay, by clicking on the D, or you can just uh, highlight the cells you want to change. And I want to reduce the number of decimal digits that are showing. So up here in your ribbon, there's a dot zero with an arrow, and then there's a dot zero zero if you want more decimal places. In this case, we want to decrease, so we're going to use the one that's pointing to the left. Now, in Excel, it's actually the opposite direction, but there are still two buttons that allow you to increase or decrease how many decimal digits you have. So this looks good. Let's do 3 decimal digits. You could go down to 2, or you could do up to 4. But like if you tell someone that this is 70.7%, that sounds reasonable. Okay, you could do 71%, but you don't want all those decimals. So it is possible to round uh, too soon when you're doing math. So be aware, you can cause rounding errors if you do too much rounding. But you also, you don't want to confuse people, so we don't want to do too little rounding. Okay, so there is our relative frequencies. Now, by the way, I mentioned you didn't have to divide by 41. You could have done it this way. You could have done equals C2 and then clicked on the 41. But if you do that, you're going to have a problem when you copy this down, because what's going to happen is you're going to get these divide by zero errors, because Google Sheets is going to shift that C2 over and over, but it's also going to shift your C8, and there's nothing down in this area. So Google is actually suggesting you put some dollar signs in there. What is that for? Well, if you accept that suggestion, you'll notice that, hey, it actually works now. So when you are copying a formula, if you want to make sure you're always using the same spot, you have to put dollar signs around your values. So this is the formula for this is equals C2 divided by $C $8. Okay. So if you wanted to do that over here with the same thing here, where like I wanted to not use 2000, I wanted to use cell B11. Since I always want to be adding that same cell, I'd have to $B $11. Okay. Either way is fine. If you just divide by 41, you're good. So all right, so next after relative frequencies is cumulative frequency. So cumulative frequency is taking the frequencies and adding them up. Okay, but not all of them. It's everything from that row and below. Okay, so this cell right here is going to be 2 plus 4 plus 29. Okay, this one's going to be 4 plus 29. This first one, is going to be that row plus everything below. Well, there's nothing below, so it's just going to be 29. So there's 2 steps to doing the cumulative frequency. The first step is you just copy the first frequency. Okay. So back over here, the first step, we're going to just copy this. So 29. Okay. Or you could do equals. You could do, this equals this. Although Google Sheets is going to try to be smart. Nope. Good try, Google. Or you could just copy and paste it. However you want to do it's fine. Okay. Now that's the first step. The next one is this one plus this, and then this one plus all of those, and so on. So to do that, step 2, what you'll do is you'll do equals, and you'll add up the previous cumulative frequency plus the current row frequency. Okay. Let me show you what that looks like. Okay. You do equals, you add up the previous cumulative frequency, whatever that is, plus current row, whatever that frequency is. So I'm going to do equals. And Google Sheets actually got it. Good job, Google Sheets. So you can just tab that, but I'll show you. So the previous cumulative frequency would be this one, the one right above it, plus this row, use this row's frequency, which is this one right here, which is 4. So the formula we want is equals E2 plus C3. And there it is, okay? And we will click on cell E2, or sorry, E3, and we'll copy that formula down for everything, okay? And the last one is 41, and the last one should always match your total because the total is adding all of these up. Cumulative frequency is taking that row and adding up the frequencies from that row plus everything below it, which is exactly everything at all, right? It's everything. So yeah. So you should always end up with your totals matching and the bottom, okay? All right, cool. The last one is cumulative relative frequency. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. I'll say it again, cumulative relative frequency. So you're taking your relative frequencies and adding them up. So you're adding everything from that row and below. So since it's cumulative, you can do it the same way with the same steps that we did for cumulative frequency, where you did 2 steps. You copy the first relative frequency, and then you do the previous cumulative relative frequency plus the current row's relative frequency. Or since it's relative, you can do it the way using the formula we did for relative, where you do equals and then you do the cumulative frequency divided by the total. Okay. Either way is fine. There's 2 different ways to do it, and I can show you both ways. For tonight, we'll just do it the easy way. So I'm gonna do equals, and I'm gonna take my cumulative frequency, which is this one. So I'm gonna click on cell E2, and I'm gonna divide by my total, which is 41. Okay. Or you could do $C, $8. Okay. And we'll copy that formula down. And the last one should always be 1. The last one should always be 100%. Okay. But this is still, I don't want all these decimal digits, so we need to make sure we only have 3 digits after the decimal. So we'll highlight column F by clicking on the F, and then we'll use decrease decimal places until we have 3 places. So, all right, great. So now that I've got all these answers here, um, I'll want to make sure I copy those over here, right? 1,000, 3,000, 5. Okay. So here, I just want the number. Okay. So on the Google document, I want the actual formula. Okay. So but that's the end of the project. So let's oh wait, no, we're not done with the project, are we? So there's one more step for the project, isn't there? So for the project, so project document with instructions is here. Yeah, I didn't even look at the instructions. So here's the instructions. Same things I just told you, but I missed a part. We want a chart. Okay. So let's get a chart in our Google Sheet here. So we want a chart of our frequencies. So don't just select everything here, because if you do that, your chart's going to look crazy. It's going to have a giant spike at the end. And that's because that's the total. That's 41. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, just highlight your frequencies. Okay. You don't have to highlight the title if you don't want to. You can just highlight the numbers. Either way is fine. But you'll highlight the numbers, not including the total, and then you'll hit Insert Chart. Okay. And there it is. Okay. And we do have a big spike at the front. That doesn't always happen, but it does for this case. Now, by the way, they put it right on top of our data, which is very convenient. So now you can't see anything. We need to move this out of the way. So you'll just click and drag it. You can move it over here. You can move it down here. Just out of the way is fine. Now, if I was if I was going to present this chart to someone, I would definitely want to do a little more work and make sure that I have my x-axis labeled. I want my title labeled, but for now, this is perfectly fine. Okay, so we're done. So that is the last step for the project. So now we need to submit the project. So to do that, we go up here to share in the upper right. Make sure you change it from restricted to anyone with a link. So I know that for the 2.3 worksheet project, some people have already submitted it without making that change. So I can't access it. So make sure that you submit where you've chosen anyone with the link. And then you can, once you've done that, you click on this button here, copy the link. And then we can come back over here to Canvas. And if we scroll down to the bottom, oh, I want to reset this because I did this morning. So sorry about that. So we're going to go to the Chapter 2 review worksheet, Google Project, which was here, day 3, Chapter 2 review worksheet, Google Sheet Project. And we'll scroll to the bottom and okay, now it looks good. All right, so we're going to click on web URL and we will paste our link and then hit submit assignment and we get confetti. Yay! That's it. Okay, so that one's done. All right. Okay, cool. So for those of you following along on the video, I'm going to stop the recording here. Make sure you fill out the Chapter 2 review worksheet as well. Make sure you do the lecture notes. For those of you who are on Zoom, we're going to finish filling out the rest of the Chapter 2 review worksheet. Okay.